Most people spend their entire lives wondering why certain individuals effortlessly attract loyalty, trust, and admiration, while others, despite trying harder, remain invisible. The answer isn't charisma. It isn't beauty. It isn't even intelligence. It's something far more ancient, far more instinctive, and far more powerful. It operates beneath conscious awareness, woven into the architecture of the human brain itself. By the end of this video, you will understand the silent psychological mechanism that makes people feel deeply connected to you, and you will never see human interaction the same way again. Deep inside the human brain, there exists a network of cells so extraordinary that neuroscientists initially refused to believe what they were seeing. These are called mirror neurons, and they were discovered almost by accident in the early 1990s, when researchers studying macaque monkeys noticed something impossible. The neurons that fired when a monkey reached for food also fired when the monkey simply watched another monkey do the same thing. The brain, it turns out, does not distinguish between doing and witnessing. It mirrors, it echoes, it becomes what it observes. This is the foundation of the technique. Mirror neurons are the biological engine behind empathy, imitation, and social bonding. When you unconsciously adopt someone's posture, tone, or rhythm of speech, their brain registers something profound, a signal that whispers, "This person is like me." And the human mind is irresistibly drawn to what it recognizes as familiar. This is not a metaphor. It is a measurable neurological event. The mirror technique exploits this hardwired mechanism deliberately and systematically. It is not manipulation in the crude sense. It is the art of speaking the brain's oldest and most trusted language, the language of reflection. Here is what most people get catastrophically wrong about social connection. They believe that to be liked, they must be impressive. They perform, they compete, they fill every silence with their own story. But the subconscious mind operates on an entirely different logic. It is not looking for the most impressive person in the room. It is looking for the safest one. And safety, to the primitive brain, means sameness. When someone mirrors your energy, your vocabulary, even the subtle speed of your breathing, your threat detection system powers down. Your guard drops. You begin to feel, without knowing why, that this person understands you. The technique begins with something called behavioral synchrony, the deliberate, subtle alignment of your physical behavior with another person's. Notice how they sit. Are they leaning forward, invested, or leaning back, guarded? Notice the pace of their speech, slow and measured, or rapid and passionate. Notice what their hands do when they emphasize a point. Now, with a delay of approximately 3 to 5 seconds, begin to echo those behaviors. Not as mimicry. The delay is critical. Mimicry is conscious and detectable. Synchrony is instinctive. It bypasses scrutiny entirely and lands directly in the subconscious as resonance. Beyond the physical, the mirror technique operates on the linguistic level through a mechanism psychologists call lexical mirroring. Pay relentless attention to the specific words your target uses, not the general topic, but the precise vocabulary. If they describe their project as a mission, don't call it a project or a goal. Call it a mission. If they say they feel overwhelmed, don't respond with stressed or busy. Use their exact word. This is not parroting. This is demonstrating that you have received their inner world exactly as they transmitted it. The brain interprets this as, this person truly hears me. And being truly heard is one of the most addictive human experiences. There is a darker layer to this technique that few are willing to discuss openly. The mirror effect doesn't just create liking, it creates a subtle but measurable dependency. When a person feels consistently mirrored, heard, understood, reflected, their brain begins to associate your presence with a specific neurochemical reward. The release of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine becomes linked to you. Over time, your absence begins to feel like a deprivation. This is the silent architecture behind charismatic leaders, magnetic personalities, and yes, also behind certain forms of emotional manipulation. Understanding this mechanism is not optional. It is essential self-defense. The mirror technique also operates on emotional frequency, what researchers call affective synchrony. This goes beyond copying posture or repeating words. It means entering the emotional state of the other person before attempting to shift it. If someone is anxious, do not immediately project calm confidence. First, allow your voice to carry a slight edge of seriousness, acknowledging their frequency. Then, gradually, deliberately, modulate toward calm. Their nervous system will follow yours. This is the technique therapists use unconsciously. It's the reason certain people can walk into a room of tension and dissolve it, not through authority, but through a precise and intentional emotional mirror. Now consider the most sophisticated layer of the mirror technique, reflecting someone's identity, not just their behavior. Every human being carries a private narrative about who they are, their values, their self-image, their idealized self. When you demonstrate that you perceive them not as they are, but as they wish to be seen, you trigger one of the most powerful psychological responses known to social science: identity validation. This is the mechanism behind political charisma, cult leadership, and enduring friendships alike. The person who makes you feel like your best self is the person you will follow anywhere. This is not inspiration. This is instinctive attraction weaponized. There is one element of the mirror technique that operates in silence, and it may be the most powerful of all. It is called strategic vulnerability mirroring. When someone shares something personal, something slightly uncomfortable or revealing, the standard social response is to offer comfort or advice. But the master of the mirror technique does something different. They meet the disclosure with a proportional disclosure of their own. Not larger, not smaller, proportional. This signals, I trust you as much as you trust me. The result is an almost instantaneous deepening of the connection, because the brain interprets matched vulnerability as evidence of mutual safety. Trust is not built slowly, it is triggered. Mastery of the mirror technique requires that you develop an almost predatory level of observational awareness. Before you mirror, you must read. Spend the first 60 seconds of any interaction in pure reception mode. Observe without agenda. What is their body doing that their words are not saying? Where is their energy being withheld? Most people in conversation are already preparing their next statement before the other person finishes speaking. The skilled practitioner of mirroring does the opposite. They listen with the entirety of their attention, treating every signal as data. This quality of presence is itself a form of mirroring, and people feel it as something rare and profoundly magnetic. To protect yourself from others who deploy this technique, knowingly or not, you must cultivate what psychologists call metacognitive awareness during social interactions. Begin to notice when you feel inexplicably drawn to someone after a very short time. Notice if their vocabulary suspiciously echoes yours. Notice if their emotional state seems to track yours with uncanny precision. These are not signs of a soulmate. They may be signs of a skilled mirror. This does not mean the connection is false, but it means you should allow time before making significant decisions based on that feeling. Emotional resonance can be engineered. Knowing this is armor. There is an advanced application of mirror technique mastery that moves beyond individual interaction into the realm of social architecture. When you consciously mirror the dominant values and communication style of a group, not to deceive but to achieve fluency, you gain access to a level of social trust that outsiders never reach. Every tribe, every subculture, every organization has a hidden language. Its rhythm, its reference points, its unspoken assumptions. The person who learns to reflect that language back at the group becomes, in the group's perception, one of them. Not a guest, a member. This is how outsiders become insiders, and how the powerless acquire relentless social leverage. In 1999, psychologists Tanya Chartrand and John Bargh conducted one of the most revealing studies in the history of social psychology, now known as the chameleon effect study. Participants had conversations with Confederates who were secretly instructed to either mirror or not mirror the participants' behavior. Those who were mirrored reported liking the Confederates significantly more, rated the interaction as smoother, and described a feeling of unexplained connection, even though none of them consciously noticed the mirroring. The revelation is this: the effect works entirely below awareness. The subject never sees the mechanism. They only feel the outcome. This is the relentless power of the mirror. The implications of the chameleon effect extend far beyond personal likability. In 2008, researchers found that negotiators trained in mirroring techniques achieved significantly better outcomes, not because they were more aggressive, but because the opposing party felt more understood. In sales contexts, mirroring increased compliance rates by up to 45%. In therapeutic settings, mirrored clients opened up faster, healed faster, and rated their therapists as more competent. The pattern is undeniable, and the mechanism is consistent. When the human brain receives its own signal reflected back with precision, it interprets the source of that reflection as fundamentally trustworthy. Connection is not chemistry. It is architecture. You came here wondering why some people are effortlessly liked, while others remain unseen. Now you know the answer. Lives not in personality, but in neurology, in the ancient, silent language of reflection. The mirror technique is not a trick. It is the conscious activation of a mechanism the brain was already using unconsciously. What changes when you understand it is this: you stop leaving connection to chance. You stop hoping to be understood and start speaking the language that the subconscious mind cannot resist. You become someone who makes others feel, in your presence, more real, more seen, more themselves. That is the most silent and relentless form of power there is.